It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Taylor Swift dropping in a lot of life juice for all of us, right? And so today I'm going to talk about why sometimes our lives can seem very chaotic and how sometimes when things are going our way, we tend to sabotage it, or we have these thoughts of doubt and we second guess ourselves. And then when things actually go our way and things are starting to become easy, that we make it harder for ourselves. Sound familiar? We get in our own damn way. And at the same time, why is it that sometimes it is hard to believe? And there's that thought in the back of your mind that goes, this isn't going to last, right? This isn't going to last. Something bad is going to happen, just because it has in the past, and how sometimes it is very difficult to come to terms with and accept that things can be easy. Things can go the way we expect, and we can actually get what we truly want. So first, let's talk about that feeling of chaos, right? Like everything in your life just seems very chaotic. Nothing is going as expected. Problems after problems seem to arise, and not only are you seeing the external environment feel chaotic, but also internally you just feel very scattered, right? And so when these things usually happen, something obviously triggers this, right? Chaos is not a regular human natural state. It is when we're trying to fight or flight an actual threat. And what happens in our nervous system is that when we are in a heightened state of stress, or we have this perceived threat in our minds consistently through long periods of time, then our body gets into this long-term state of fight or flight, where it's constantly releasing hormones such as cortisol. We're always feeling like we're on because our heart rate is up, our breathing gets shallow. We're literally just trying to run away from that saber-toothed tiger. That is the state, right? And this type of state usually happens if and when you have a stressful life event, and we don't allow ourselves the time to rest and recuperate and slow down, to harmoniously balance out that fight or flight response, right? And so things that could trigger this is a big life-changing event, right? For my clients, it's because they've just left a relationship, a long-term relationship. They're going through a divorce, a breakup, and they're leaving a very unstable, unhappy relationship. And so when they were in that state of unhealthiness in their relationship, obviously it's a very stressful. They're in survival mode, right? They're in that fight or flight state where it's extremely stressful. As of course, as you can imagine, going through a breakup is already very traumatizing in and of itself. But at the same time, if they're leaving an unhappy relationship where that there was a lot of unhealthiness and toxic patterns within that relationship, then of course they're always going to be on the lookout, right, for any perceived threat, whether that it be their partner or just the things that are going through their minds themselves that are triggering this fight or flight response internally. And so when we have that feeling of chaos, this is a survival mechanism, right? This really helps us to run away from that saber-toothed tiger and do some incredibly amazing things, like women lifting cars, right, to save the baby. But prolonged over time, it becomes quite dangerous. And one of the things why it becomes dangerous is because when we are so used to being in a fight or flight mode for months and months and months without allowing ourselves to step back and rest and digest, and no longer feel that we are trying to run away from a saber-toothed tiger, then that state of heightened awareness, of hyperarousal, and hypervigilance becomes the new homeostasis, because it is what you're used to, especially if this happens for months and months. And so when we are in this state, something like resting is very unusual. That's why business owners, especially extremely high achieving business owners, kind of feel this need to hustle all the time, right? And then when they take the time for themselves and start prioritizing themselves at the beginning, it's very difficult. There's a lot of resistance, because naturally, when you even just chill, when you just chill for like an hour or even 5 to 10 minutes through a meditation practice, that moment of stillness and rest and digest, which is the opposite of the sympathetic fight or flight, the parasympathetic rest and digest, is something that is unfamiliar to them. So they have this tendency to just want to go back to the familiar heightened stress, right? Because they have just learned to be on all the time. When it's off, the balance is no longer there, because it has become their new homeostasis, even though this new homeostasis is actually quite detrimental to health in the long term. And so what does this have to do with not wanting ease, right? What does this have to do with not being comfortable with receiving, not wanting, or when things are actually going your way and feels easy, why do we tend to self-sabotage? Well, it's from the exact same mechanism, right? Because that chaotic fight or flight survival state has become the normal state, then when things become easy, when things start going your way, your nervous system kind of freaks out a little bit, because it's like, well, I'm so used to my heart rate being up and my breathing being shallow and all of these stress hormones circulating all the time. When we try to reduce that, it's very unfamiliar, right? It's like, I'm used to being up here, but now we're down here. Let me try to go back up here, right? It's that gap that is very uncomfortable because it is unfamiliar, and our minds don't like unfamiliarity, because unfamiliar means saber-toothed tiger that we got to run away from again. So it kind of becomes this cycle, right? Of like, it gets extremely complicated. So when you're not used to things going your way, that natural pull to go back to the homeostasis of things not going your way is actually a mechanism, a physiological mechanism that also happens. So you're not crazy. There's nothing really wrong with you. It's just how your body is reacting to your new reality. And the best part of this is because you were able to adapt to a heightened fight or flight mode, you can also learn how to adapt to a more harmonious state of having ease, as well as knowing when to turn it on, depending on the circumstance, right? And so when you're able to just gain this awareness for me was extremely mind-blowing. I was talking to one of my colleagues, and both of us were like, listen, everything is going my way, but I'm making my own problems. I'm making my own shit. I'm worrying about things that logically I know are not going to come true. Like, for example, there was something that I was applying for, and I pretty much got all of the requirements. Like, logically, there was nothing for me to, like, there was no way I would not get that application, but I made a big deal out of it. I created drama about it. I was like, what if the application doesn't go through? It'll be the end of the world. I'm creating all this chaos, right? Because I was so used to being in that stressful state that if things like just naturally go, and funny story, that application went through and I got granted right away. Crazy how that works, right? It got granted right away because logically there was no reason for me to be denied that application, right? But I had made a big deal about it because I was so used to being that stressful state during, the separation process. And now that everything is kind of, going towards, the healing, towards the closure of everything, the stress is no longer there. So I started to create it, right? And and this is what unconscious self-sabotage is, right? And once you get to know this, about yourself, boom, you will start thriving very, very quickly. You will start repatterning that, because once you start prioritizing ease, your body learns, oh shit, this is what I've been missing for such a long time. It's going to want that, right? Especially if you intentionally every day take little steps to ensure that you are actually you know, you're prioritizing your rest and your wellness, and you're looking through or acting upon and doing the things that help you go into that rest and digest parasympathetic state. And so, I just wanted to share this with you, because sometimes it may seem like something is wrong with you when you feel that things are going your way, but you may not feel you deserve it. It's not that it could be, there might be some beliefs there. It could be possible that there are some beliefs there where you might not fully believe the fact that you're deserving of XYZ thing that are your big goals now after you've gone through a separation. But at the same time, yes, it's good to explore that. But at the same time, think about this in a physiological way as well. Learning how to be able to become more self-aware in a cognitive level, like in your beliefs and your feelings and your thoughts as well, in your body, as well as learning the physiological homeostasis and learning about yourself in that way can make you so powerful, which is exactly what I help my clients do, right? And so when you're able to get to like tie all of these things together, thriving after a separation becomes much more at ease, because you're no longer fighting yourself, because you are aware when you're trying to go back to that old pattern of homeostasis in a physiological level, as well as a cognitive level. You can start shifting your beliefs to align with the fact that you are definitely worthy of living life in your own terms, thriving, growing, flourishing after this big life-changing event, and inspiring other people to do the same. So I hope this helped, and I will see you very soon.